Hey everybody, I'm Brett and there is Kate, and I'm going to set this camera so that it's gallery view. There we go. It'll look better on the video. How you doing, Kate?
I'm good. Ready
Excellent.
ready to
Okay.
dive into sugar.
Just refreshing to refresh your all's memories if you didn't see our first episode. Um, I'm Brett. I'm a psychic medium, a channeler, an author, and a Reiki 3 practitioner. And Kate is, well, why don't you tell everybody, Kate, the things that you are all about?
Oh, I'm an artist and a theta healer. Subconscious reprogramming.
And she's awesome. So we're going to ask our beings, Orna and Kate Channel's creator, to talk about the issue of sugar and the positive and or negative impacts that sugar has on human physiology. I have no idea what Orna's going to say, and I've got a feeling Kate doesn't really have an idea of what creator's going to say about it. Is that fair? Is that a fair statement?
I do not. I mean, there's my personal opinions on it and my my conspiracy opinions on it, and then it's what comes through. So
all righty. With that said, does creator want to start first? Or you want Orna to start first?
oh, let Orna kick it off. It's
All
Orna's garden. So
all right, that's true. That's right. I forgot to welcome everybody to Orna's garden, and we appreciate you being here. All right, let's get ourselves into place, and we'll get this conversation underway. Greetings, Kate. Greetings, creator. I am Orna. I am pleased to be in your company again. And I understand that we're going to discuss the issue of sugar. Sugar is an interesting substance. It grows from plants, or it is taken from plants, and it is used to sweeten all sorts of things. Sugar also, as Brett discovered to his detriment, and many others that Brett is familiar with, sugar is also very addictive and very destructive for humans to overconsume. It's important to remember that sugar has its place on this earth. This plant, sugar cane, is not malevolent. It's just a plant that grows and is processed and converted into sugar granules. Many humans are able to consume small amounts of sugar without becoming addicted or without damaging their health, without becoming ill from the consumption, while others, such as Brett, for instance, cannot consume any sugar without suffering immediate negative consequences. For Brett, it's his mental illness symptoms, or as he calls it, the crazy, starts to return to his being. And he's learned this from accidentally or unknowingly consuming sugar a couple of times early on in his carnivore journey. And I have read the memories of Brett about those occasions, and it's quite alarming how quickly his behavior deteriorates if he unknowingly consumes even a small, tiny amount of sugar. He becomes unable to accurately perceive his environment, and he becomes immediately unable to speak without offending whoever he's speaking to. Brett is not alone in suffering from sugar consumption in this manner. Many humans should never put sugar into their mouth, but unfortunately, many humans don't learn this until they're fully in the grips of addiction, or until they've developed some sort of consequential illness from doing so. Speaking specifically about type 2 diabetes. And then there's type 3 diabetes, also known as Alzheimer's. These are all lifestyle choices, consequences from lifestyle choices, actually. And Creator and I are going to discuss this issue from our own perspectives. I would suggest that some humans are capable, as I hinted at earlier, of consuming small amounts of sugar irregularly, not on a 5 times, 10 times a day type situation, but rather once in a great while. There was a time, not that many decades previous, when sugar was a rarity for humans to consume. Only on holidays would sweets be prepared and served at meals. But now it appears, based on the research I've done since knowing Brett, that there's very few things in grocery store shelves that don't have some quantity of sugar in them. And if a human is unable to consume even small amounts of sugar without suffering immediate or nearly immediate negative consequences, I would encourage them to not consume sugar and trust that their physiology is going to produce enough glucose to provide the body what it needs. I will go silent for a moment. Creator, your opening thoughts, please.
We would like to start with appreciating Orna's comment on how sugar is a part of this world. Sugar itself, many of you guys sort of demonize sugar or think sugar is the enemy, and we do agree with Orna that it is just as a substance on this earth. It is too a creation. And the reason why so many of you have different responses to sugar is because all of you have different beliefs around what sugar is. You have different beliefs around what sugar stands for deep in your subconscious. So many of you, if you look at the beginnings of addiction with sugar, it begins with, if you look historically, the real problem with sugar begins with the destructions of communities. It begins with the beginning of people choosing isolation over love, of choosing to be solitary over choosing to be in a family. And we do not mean this in the physical sense, as we know many of you guys are in appearance's sake. You guys are a part of a family. You are in a family. We are talking about the deeper, subtle connection that is happening with you amongst the other souls that you are surrounding with. Sugar is often what you guys use to supplement your loneliness. Oftentimes, when we look at people with the addiction of sugar, our very first question to ask is, what are the bottom beliefs around joy? What are the bottom beliefs around the sweetness in your life? Do you have sweetness in your life? Do you see life as sweet? Do you do things in joy? Do you communicate in joy? Do you connect in joy? And so many of you are blocked from the real, true emotion and experience of joy in your life, and you seek it through sugar. And there's many research that explains the chemistry going on around the dopamine hits that the brain experiences, that the physical body experiences. However, if you listen deeper into what the body is telling you, it is telling you that it is missing the essence of joy. And so the work to be done around sugar isn't always the bullheadedness or the pushing of quitting sugar or the manhandling of yourself or the hatred and loathing of yourself in the fact that you consume sugar. That is not the right track to quit sugar. That is not the right track to avoid it. Your best bet is to learn why you need the sugar and then heal from that. And we would like at this time, if anyone would like to accept this, can we download that you do know how to live a life in joy? Can we download that you do understand the feeling of joy without needing to experience it through isolation, through being solitary, through disconnection from yourself and others, and from disconnection from your soul and from other souls? Can I teach you that you have the feeling of joy, you have that emotion, and you have that virtue of joy in your life? And can we close down all loops and programs that are teaching and expanding you in the virtue of joy through isolation, through addiction, through this excommunication from your real communities, through disconnection and through polarity? If you would like this, just response with yes, and you will receive that clear. But we do want to press upon everyone that sugar is a belief. And right now, you guys are all mastering this balance of the physical, of the soul in the physical, and of the soul in the 3D. And part of that is understanding that all of these substances in which you consume, you can change the reaction in your body based on your belief, but you do need to find that belief and find the way that you choose to alter or replace or alchemize those beliefs. Many of the people that you see in which they can consume sugar with no sort of side effects, that is because they probably do have the feeling of joy in their life. They are probably having, without any conditions placed around it, which is why they can metabolize the sugar. Whereas others who have a difficult time metabolizing the sugar, they have a difficult time stopping in the consumption of sugar. Many of you have experienced childhoods where very early on you were disconnected from joy. And it is so much so that the route to get back to that may be more extreme than most of the others around you. Another way to sort of quit sugar without doing it through loathing and hatred is to begin to bring people into your community. Begin to socialize and connect on deep, deep levels. We are not talking about merely attending gatherings. We are talking about connecting frequencies. We are talking about building your soul family, asking for your soul family, bringing that community in. And once you find that you are surrounded with love and you are able to receive that love and joy of community, of other souls, it's almost as if sugar will no longer have its hold on you, and there will be no need to force yourself to quit sugar. It will naturally erode the need for it because you have joy in your life, because you have family, because you have community. Orna, have you seen something similar to this in your observations through Brett?
Your point is well made, Creator. Brett is a prime example of how to quit sugar. Brett didn't quit consuming sugar because he loathed himself. He loathed how he felt. The consumption of sugar was a direct contributor to his chronic mental illness for over 4 decades. And when Brett adopted the carnivore lifestyle, he never focused specifically on how bad sugar was for him at that time because he was unaware that sugar had contributed directly to his chronic mental illness. He didn't come to understand the consequences of his sugar consumption until his illness was defeated by his physiology through the carnivore lifestyle. Brett never thought about why sugar was definitely not something to be consumed. Brett was just so excited at the possibility of experiencing wellness for the first time in decades that he focused primarily on just following the directions and letting his body repair itself, as he was only and continues to this day to only consume human absorbable nutrition that works perfectly with his physiology. Once Brett achieved wellness, then he became very much aware of how damaging for him sugar consumption truly was and remains. It has a direct negative impact upon his brain. It alters his mood almost instantly from a joyful state of being that he resides in every day to a form resembling how he used to be, where he's unable to perceive his environment accurately and he's unable to communicate in an appropriate, respectful manner. Many suffer from chronic mental illness, and they're walking in a similar path that Brett walked. They've taken the medicine that they've been prescribed. They've done their therapy as requested. They've changed so many things about themselves, but they're still living an extremely unhappy life. It's more of an existence due to illness than it is anything approaching a joyful life. Brett can say, and through his carnivore coaching and people that he assists on a daily basis, he emphasizes how dangerous sugar is and how it contributes directly for some people like himself. It contributes directly to mental illness. Now, That's regarding Brett's physiology, which is unique to him as an individual. Many other individuals, like Brett's wife, for instance, consume sugar, not a great deal, nothing like what he used to consume, but she still suffered from autoimmune issues like arthritis. That was extremely painful and limiting her ability to do her job and to work. And for her, it wasn't until she adopted the carnivore lifestyle and eliminated her osteoarthritis in her shoulders and in her hands in a 6-week period of time. And as long as she continues to never consume sugar or other inflammatory materials, she never has to worry about the return of said arthritis. Similarly, Brett never has to worry about a return of his mental illness symptoms because there's nothing, no force in this 3D world that can fool him into consuming something he knows is so terribly destructive for his physiology. Humans can make different choices. The consumption of sugar is, as creator referred to, an inhibitor of joy. Brett experiences real joy every day of his life. He's joyful throughout the day, every day of his life, because his physiology is operating without any inflammatory infringement. His body is able to function and repair itself without any downside to his physiology. Many people who tend to experience joy on a regular basis also are not prone to need to consume sugar in order to feel that joy. That's where the addiction becomes valid. If you can only feel joy when you're consuming certain substances, be it sugar or other medicines or any other substance, that's a problem. It's not necessary to consume things that inhibit your ability to experience joy. There's a reason whenever you run into Brett, you see him smiling. And if you spend time with him in his presence, you will recognize this is genuine joy radiating from this man. Listen to your physiology. Humans, adult humans, should be able to recognize if they can consume sugar in small amounts without feeling poorly. They're blessed with the physiology that can tolerate small amounts of the substance. It's important to remember, unless one is a type 1 diabetic, which some humans are unfortunately born with, I do believe, and Brett also believes, that type 1 diabetics are born into this incarnation for the experience of dealing with a chronic illness so that they can understand better that aspect of humanity and what it means to be a human. Creator, do you have more thoughts on the issue of sugar that you would like to share?
Yes, we would begin, we would like to begin with even with the reminder that all of those souls who have come into this incarnation with illness and to experience illness, we would like to remind that you are always the master of what you are experiencing. And there is nothing on this earth that cannot be healed or restored. And so if any of you would like a different experience other than the illnesses that you were born into, it is possible for you to alter that experience at any time. Going to sugar, we have many, many more things to discuss about this. The first one being, we'd like to talk about the addiction portion of sugar. And anytime you are relying on an external source of nutrition for your emotional well-being, it is worthwhile to study why it is that external resource and what it is that you are giving, like what the reason why you are taking it. Whether it is meat, whether it is sugar, whether it is alcohol, whether it is drugs, whether it is vegetables, we are not here to say that any of those are out of order or any of those are incorrect, but we do ask that everybody look at what they are relying on in their external reality to gain something internally. This may be confusing for the next bit that we share, because going to what Orna was saying about physiology, many of you have forgotten that your physiology is a part of your being. There is a belief in this world that our soul and our minds are disconnected from this object that you guys are wandering through your reality in, and that is not the case. We cannot press upon you enough to remember that your physiology is a part of your soul. Your physiology is a part of your mind. Your feet are the same as your soul. Your feet are the same as your mind. They are not separated. And so when you continue to not listen to the language of your physiology, when you continue to not listen to what it is telling you, the same way that you listen to the thoughts in your mind, that is when you begin to have difficulty in your life. It is the same as going into a battle and only listening to 2 soldiers out of 1,000,000,000. It does not make sense to continually ignore the language of your body. Going to Brett's experience where his physiology was yelling at him that the reliance of sugar to get an emotion in his life was not working, and it was getting louder and louder and louder through several ailments that he was experiencing in his life, shows that taking the time to listen to what the body is saying about what you are consuming is the utmost important. Going to the carnivore, if you are looking at what you are consuming and you are listening to your physiology, and your physiology is saying, yes, 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 this is exactly what we need to maintain balance, listen to that. It is very important, going to what we said earlier, to pay attention and listen to your body the same way that you listen to your mind, the same way that you guys listen to the news, the same way that you guys are listening to all of these external factors in your life, you are forgetting that the central to all of this is your body, which is your soul, which is your mind. There is no separation. It is all in the oneness of Creator. So it is very important to pay attention. If you are if you find that sugar, you are using it to gain something, question that. The same way that you would question, Kate had to question vegetables. Vegetables is something that many say is one of the best things to consume. And for many it is. However, years and years and years of not listening to the physiology of her body and not listening to it telling her that the vegetables she is consuming are not right. The fruit she is consuming is not right for this period of time. Not listening to that created multiple, like the body began to yell louder and yell louder and yell louder until it created difficulties to the point where you have no choice but to listen. So a lot of the difficulties in your life could be caught earlier by actually listening to the body in conjunction with what it is consuming. Once again, we are not here to say that one mean is incorrect and one mean is correct, because you are all so varied and you guys are all your own complex systems of existence. But we will advise to always question what it is you are consuming, whether it's sugar, whether it's thoughts, whether it's other people, their ideas, their energies. Constantly be aware of what you are consuming and why you are consuming that, and listen to your body on what benefit and or maladaptive behavior it is having on your soul walking through this earth, this dimension, this timeline.
Very well said. I also want to touch on how sugar consumption has been used against humans. It's a truism to suggest that specifically the nation that Kate and Brett live in, these United States, they both see obvious signs of obesity everywhere, which in this current age on Earth, in this part of the planet's geography, obesity is a serious problem. Sugar consumption contributes to that. There is ample research where corporations, food companies, do research to discover what is termed as the bliss point. The bliss point is the point at which a human being consumes something that gives such a pleasurable dopamine hit that in that moment, an experience of completeness is felt, of accomplishment. But it's very fleeting. It's very fleeting. And it only occurs again when you next consume enough of the substance to hit the bliss point once again. And unfortunately, the bliss point scenario leads to chronic disease because the human engaging in this behavior is unable to discern that they're damaging themselves through the overconsumption of sugar. They want to feel that same feeling that they felt once before, and they spend the rest of their time trying to replicate that feeling, much in the way a drug addict, someone who has done heroin or other serious narcotics. They get that enormous, incredible high, that sensation that brings them back to try it again. And that high is not what the original high was. And so they increase their dosage gradually. That's why most heroin users have negative outcomes, because they chase that high until their physiology ceases to function due to overdose or long-term physiological damage that prevents the body from functioning. And this is important for humans to think about, because you walk into these quote unquote grocery stores for nourishment, and many of the items are designed to hit, you're scientifically created to hit your bliss point, to keep you coming back to buy that product over and over and over again, regardless of the negative impact the consumption of that product has upon your physiology. This is why, as Creator just said, it's important to listen to your physiology. It's important to start paying attention to the messages your body is always presenting to you. And it's also important to remember the body does not lie. The body never misleads. But humans mislead themselves due to their commitment to that dopamine sensation, to find new ways to achieve that feeling. So pay attention to what you're putting into your body. Everything you eat, you should listen to see how your body responds to what you consume. If it's something that's not good for you, your body will let you know. You might have a moment of cramping. You might have suddenly an unexpected pain in your head, a headache, as it is called. You might start having problems sleeping at night. You might suddenly start thinking very poorly of yourself, which is never a good idea. Listen to your physiology. If you find your physical body not functioning as it should, as you know it should, give up sugar for 30 days and see how you feel. Many people find their quality of life skyrocketing just from giving that up. They're not giving it up to deny themselves. They're giving it up to learn if it's good for them to continue to consume it or not. And if They learn that they should not consume it. Then replace it with something nourishing, something your body can use for your body's benefit. You don't have to be a slave to addiction. You are the creator of your reality. And you have it within you to listen and learn what you should and should not consume for your daily betterment, for your daily functioning. Joy comes to those who are not inflamed, Brett likes to say. Not completely 100% accurate, but on the right track. Listen to your body, my friends, and trust what your body is telling you. Then decide for yourself, is this something I should or should not consume? And if the answer is no, there's no crime, there's no harm in no longer consuming it. Be kind to yourself always. Creator, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Yes, before we close this, the system, the amount of sugar that are on the shelves is not, the truth of this needs a reframe, because it is not a system created to hold you down. It is not a system created to disconnect yourself, which many of you carry this theory that it is someone else's fault that you are like this. But we need you guys to reframe this as that system exists because you are buying into it, because you are creating it, because you are feeding that system. And that system is being fed off of your trauma, off of your loneliness, and off of your disconnection to yourself. All of those who are suffering from body image, all of those who are suffering from obesity, from autoimmune, from diseases, all of those are always asks for you to connect back into yourself and to look at the parts of yourself that you do not want to look at. That the system only exists because you guys reflect the system. The system, it is not the system is created and then it entraps you. That is not the way that this universe is created. It is you created a system to entrap you on purpose. So you need to discover why that is. Why did you create that? And sometimes that is going deep into yourself and connecting, which is what the greater fear is, because the obesity would not exist if you were in true, deep, honest, truthful connection to yourself and in love with yourself. The physiology that you have created in this reality is built to protect you, and it will protect you from yourself as well. And so if you are harboring hatred towards yourself, even if you don't want to look at it, it is there. And just because you do not look at it, and just because you do not experience it, and just because you do not actively heal it, does not mean it is not sitting there. And you can see this through the addictions that you have. It doesn't always have to be sugar. It could be work. It could be pornography. It could be overindulging on procrastination. It could be all of these other types of addictions. But when you are experiencing those as an escape, it means there is deeper healing to be done, and it is an ask for connection. All of this is easily resolved, and I mean easily resolved, when you find that deeper connection and honesty with yourself, with your soul, with your physiology, with your spirit. All of it is the same. And we would just really like to press upon people that these systems collapse. These systems that you think are holding you in place, the systems that you think are the reason why you like that you're like this, the systems that you think are there to hold you down, collapse the moment you step away, look at yourself truthfully, heal, love yourself, hold yourself in admiration, hold yourself in the true light of who you are and what you were meant to be here. These systems have no hold when you reach that point of expansion. And that is what we have on this topic today.
Thank you very much, Creator, for sharing your thoughts and your perspective on this issue. We appreciate the viewers and the listeners who've taken in this information, and I pray that you will use it for your betterment always. Thank you for your time, and now I will step back, and Brett will come forward, and Kate will come forward as well, and we're going to have a brief conversation. Fare thee well till the next time.
They were on a roll today.
I guess. Orna was clapping and well, you were talking apparently, very much in agreement. I can't wait to listen to it, to watch it again and see what all was said.
It was interesting when, this is the first time that it was very much showing. And sometimes I wish we could just like project the visuals like in the mind while we do this, because it's wild. But when they were showing like the physiology of, and this is news to me too, like when they were showing this, but it was like, it really did show it as no separation between your spirit, really. And it's like the essence, sure, like, when you do die, like your body remains, but while it's here animated, it was showing that like every cell has an intelligence, like that force of creation, that force of your own spirit is in every cell, and every cell has its own sort of frequency. And listening to that, like it's as easy as like dropping into your body. It's really not a complex thing to learn. It's just a matter of practicing that body intelligence again. But when it showed that, I was like, oh my goodness, because we do tend to hold this belief of like the meat suit, and the meat suit's actually really freaking brilliant.
It's the most amazing
yeah
creation ever, in my opinion, because our bodies can come back from things that are just, I know of people in the carnivore community who had inoperable brain tumors. They adopted the carnivore lifestyle, and the tumors shrunk down to where it's not completely gone, but it's no longer a danger to their life. It'll never be, it's inoperable because of where it's located, but as long as they continue to eat this way, they never have to worry about it killing them. I mean, what a thing.
And it's interesting about the inflammation, because it, like, inflammation, even like, if you roll your ankle, it inflames because it's protecting the body, like it's protecting. So it's like the same as like if what you're eating is causing inflammation, it means that your body is trying to protect itself by any means possible. So first hint is, if you have inflammation, time to readdress the diet, because like, but as Creator was saying in this round, it's not just like, that is a place to start, but that it just kept showing that there are underlying beliefs happening. There are underlying issues going on if you have those addictions to sugar, and eating can be, I know from like my experience, 22 days now carnivore, like that, like new things are happening, getting sugar out of my body, because my body, but mine was ultimately sugar from fruits and vegetables. Like it was sugar. It wasn't just like, I'm not someone who was over there mainlining candy and like cookies, like, or, you know, it was very clean, but when you actually listen to your physiology, it was like, no, not even this. Like this is also causing problems. And so, yeah, like, and then, you know, the moment I knew, it was like, okay, my body was like, we're done, time to onboard the meat, like time to like this, you know, and since then, no inflammation. So, and also cellular healing is happening on emotional and mental levels. So that's the 3D input on sugar, but
I love it though.
oh,
You're a great example, and I think it's going to be great for our viewers to watch you go through this journey while we're talking about spiritual things and whatnot. I think it's going to be you're going to be a great example for other people to recognize and follow. And I think that's always a good idea. We appreciate you all taking the time out of your day to watch this discussion. We will be returning soon. And thank you for coming and visiting and hanging out in Orna's garden. We really appreciate it. And I'm going to kill this recording and wish you all a beautiful day. Kate, tell everybody bye-bye.
thank you. Have a good one.
All right. We'll see y'all next time. Stop recording.